Welcome to Are We the Only Ones? I'm Kathy, and today I'm going to talk about self-care. Not self-care in the way that we are used to hearing about self-care, like going to the spa or getting a mani-pedi or getting your hair done. Not that. I mean like taking a moment from the news and not necessarily deep diving all the way in. Or after you've done a deep dive, take a break and do something that makes you feel better. I have not been able to really muster getting my makeup on or really getting dressed until today. And it's been a couple weeks where I've just been chilling in sweatpants and no makeup, but going out, just being whatever. And I feel like there is some, and I know this as a former fashion designer, actively talking about how the way you dress does make you feel different, and today I got to step into that. So I'm wearing one of my own designs as a little mini jacket over this new jumpsuit that I got from this brand called Halara, Halara, which is not a sponsorship or anything. This is just legit. I put it on, I forgot I got it, stepped into it, zipped it right up, no alteration needed, fit like a glove, and it made me feel better. So there's something to be said about putting yourself together and making yourself sort of show up for yourself. Not necessarily for a special occasion, but just to remind yourself of who you are, how you feel, irrespective of everything that's going on in the news and making you feel like the world has gone absolutely crazy with corruption. Overall, good will conquer, because there's more good than there's evil in the world. And so just the sheer number of people that want things to be good. We were just a little too altruistic for a little while, just kind of letting our guard down, right? But I think I've had to process a lot of what's going on. I have an uncle that is from Iran, and his family, he has not heard from them. And so I can only imagine the level of fear he's always dealing with now. And, as someone who understands what it's like to be affected by a war that I didn't have to really participate in the early stages of my family origin before coming to the United States. But then as a military spouse during active wartime, having to worry about deployments and active service and worrying about my friends and seeing them go and then having them come back and if they're injured or things like that. But it is interesting. The court of public opinion in the international world is so strong that there are people that are reporting on TikTok apparently, and I've read some reports as well, of people being asked who are visiting Ireland, for instance, if they're from the United States, who they voted for or how they feel about our president. And if somebody declines to answer, or if they're pro-MAGA, they basically feel the wrath of that host nation and how they feel about, our corrupt president. So people are reporting back that they're just being treated so poorly overseas and stuff. When the reality is they're not actually understanding it. It's not because you're American, it's because you're a fascist. It's because you support fascism. You support a fascist dictator, and Europeans are not down with that at all, because obviously they've learned their lesson. We have a habit of not learning our lesson, or not really want to face our reality and take accountability. Some of us are better at it than others, but as a nation, recognizing the things that we've had to do in order to become who we are, good and bad, we're not good at recognizing and taking accountability for the bad. And not as a whole country. So we've done a lot of really, in terms of international judgment, I think there is something to be said about hopefully the weight of that will also affect maybe our healthcare policy, maybe the way that we do our maternity care policy, our maternal leave policies could change if we understand that the world actually functions better giving back and supporting mothers and families more than the way that we are doing in the United States. There's something to be learned about that. There's something to appreciate about that. And in the global economy, with social media being obviously a global connected platform, we get more feedback from international audiences because of the fact that we can hear from them and they can hear from us a much more direct line. And video can be shared in real time. I think it's great that we actually have to hear, as Americans, other opinions in other countries. Because if you travel, you'll know when you go in other countries and you're staying in a hotel and you like watch CNN and you're like, oh wow, CNN in other countries is crazy because it's like the whole world's news. Whereas in America, CNN is just American news. And like a little bit of like international news as it relates to the United States, but not like what's happening in Bangladesh today, what's happening in Cambodia. That does not occur as a daily sort of like update, which it does in international news. So it's good for us now to be forced through social media to hear other opinions and to see what the way that we move in the world, how we actually are perceived, and how as other economies are growing because they're doing the right things for their governments and their people, whether it be from economic standpoints or political policies, geopolitical relationships. But in any case, you have countries that should not be further advanced than us, beating us in things like infrastructure, like bullet trains, maglev trains, hotels, service structure, just like overall happiness of their own people, how things function, just all those things. Like as we strip that away in our American government right now and our status quo, we don't, it seems like we are getting ripped off constantly, and we're not expecting the value that we used to expect for the money that we pay for things. So I think there's something to be said about maybe like saving money to decide where the value is at and not just putting into like corporate businesses all the time. Other than Costco, I would say for the most part, you want to stick to mom and pop. You want to maybe hold on to your money and like, you know, try to see where you can live simpler and save as much as you can so that when you want to make a move, you actually have leverage because you actually have money that's like valued at where it's properly supposed to be valued at, not like an inflated value where you're paying for things that you shouldn't be paying for at a premium. These are just things that I've been processing lately. It's just one of those times where you realize everything that I've been spending money on, do you actually enjoy it for real, or are you doing it because you feel like it's giving you status? Is that status even real? Is it status that has been spoon-fed to you by marketing, by advertising executives? Or is it something you actually care about? Do you actually like that? Does the status that you think you're perceiving that you're getting even really exist? Do people really care what you're buying? Do they really care if you're wearing, as I'm wearing, like designer goods? Does it even matter? You know, like, does it really matter? It should only matter to you if it matters to you. Other than that, it really should not really matter because it doesn't quantify that. The only other value that designer goods have for me is that, like, if you want to resell something because you're just overusing it, you're like not wearing it anymore, you can sell it for something. That's the only value I have been able to analyze is valid in designer goods. But that would be like, you know, you could look at it sort of like an asset, right? In that sense, it retains some value. When you need to change out stuff, you can get some value for it, as opposed to something that you buy that like completely devalues, right? That's what I'm looking at things more like. Does it retain value? Is there a value for me other than people thinking it means something? If that matters to you enough, then okay, it matters to you. And that's a very real thing. But if it doesn't, then don't buy into it. Because really what you want is you need assets. You really want assets like property, but only property that's worth a good value as well. Like, you don't want to buy into property when it's overpriced, when the rates are bad. You gotta wait. So I'm thinking about, like, my money's in credit unions for the most part, with occasional one like major corporate bank, so that I can deposit money cash easily. I'm trying to shop more on a local level. I'm trying to cook more at home now, and just trying to save money in terms of extra taxes that I don't want to pay into this government. You know, if I'm going to give money away, I'd rather like tip people than give it to the government. This particular government, I don't mind giving money to the government in general, but this particular government, I'm trying not to give that much money to this government. How do we still go about our daily life and enjoy things? Because it seems weird, right? To like act like things are normal. But what I've learned for me is that it's not that I'm thinking everything's normal, but I cannot be inundated all the time with the negative news because I'm overwhelmed. So sometimes it's like a release valve where I have to be like, okay, let me go feel like normal and go do something that makes me feel whole again and get back to things that I enjoy. I mean, I've not been to pickleball in like over a month. I don't know what's up. I'm trying to get back into it. I just can't get myself, I don't know. And I loved it. So there's something definitely off with me. I think the news is definitely like throwing me off. And I'm trying to eat well so that I can sort of feel good like that. I made a hot pot meal for the first time yesterday using a Haidala hot pot kit that I got from, it's like this app called WEEE. It's like Asian food. So such a good app to get like food delivered to you. And doing like Ichiran ramen and then getting chashu and putting that in there. And it feels better. But I have to do more. I have to like engage more in the great things about life to remember, because I'm overwhelmed with all the bad news. I am glad that I don't have to recap all the news because there's so much of it. All the things that are important finally are being reported on. And I would have to say that thanks to Substack for creating a place for independent media where you can go and like actually hear news that you're not hearing on corporate media that's being censored. Because that's important to be able to get active, real news from especially journalists that have been fired because they didn't like give into sort of like bribery or like corruption. We are in an era where we get to actually find out the truth, and we have direct access, which is great. But it is hard to be overwhelmed with the current news cycle and understand like how bad it has gotten with what the corruption level that has occurred. But overall, I think the power of good in America is much more overwhelming than the power of corruption. We just needed to know that it was going on. I think we're being altruistic and naive. I mean, that's how good we were, right? We couldn't believe that could be true. But now that we know it is true, I think we can stop it because we have a name for it. We know who are the players. We just have to use our voice to vote and show up in the midterms and take power back, but not completely believe that like one side is completely correct. I think we have to be in a collaborative state moving forward. I think we need a hybrid model for sure. And most definitely we need to be like working together with all the voices, and hopefully we can get to a better place. All right. Tell me what you think. How are you feeling? How are you taking care of yourself? Are you overwhelmed by the news cycle? What do you think about Clinton's testimony? What do you think about Bill Clinton's testimony? Do you think it's fair that Hillary Clinton had to even answer some of those questions? That's what was on my mind, like all the Epstein stuff, all the Iran stuff. It's overwhelming, right? It's overwhelming. How do you feel? How are you taking care of yourself? How are you processing everything? Are you taking it one day at a time? Are you going to a therapist more? Are you self-medicating? What are you doing in your life to cope? And then how are you kind of like balancing everything as an active participant? Because apathy is really not the option right now. Share with me what you think. What are you doing? How are you coping? How can you help? Any tips and tricks? Let us know. All right. Like, follow, share on Substack. Subscribe on Substack. And I'm actually looking at crop top sweatshirts as part of my merch. As my first release. Are you down? Are you into it? You want full sweatsuits? Tell me what you think. All right, until next time.